Good day. This is Chuck Cameron, Oxford Community TV, and the program called My Life. And today, I have a special guest who it turns out we didn't grow up so far from each other. This is Maureen Helmuth, who's going to be Mo after this, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Maureen, Mo, thank you for spending some time with me. I appreciate that.
That's what I live for.
I don't doubt that. Could you start by telling us what you're up to today, and then we're going to drag you way back to when you started, and our goal is to figure out how you became the person you are today.
Well, today I work for a carpet company called Perfect Floors in Rochester. I'm on the Oxford Village Council, which puts me on the Cable Commission and the Planning Commission, and
Yep.
living my best life with my husband and son. My daughter has moved out.
Outstanding. All right, so that's today.
Yep.
Lots of community involvement. You've talked a little bit about that offline. So let's go back and start. Where did you grow up? Tell us about your home, mom and dad. I understand there's a whole lot of girls involved in your family.
I was born in Detroit, Mount Carmel Hospital, which doesn't exist anymore.
Right?
My parents and five sisters, 6 girls, all lived in one house, one bathroom, one phone, 2 bedrooms, and an upstairs loft. And we had a lot of fun. Did a lot of community service, had great neighbors. Everybody had big families. We'd go out when it snowed, we'd shovel the street because there weren't snow plows coming. So you shovel the street. We had a great time.
Excellent, excellent. You were 8 Mile in Southfield.
We're at 8 Mile in Southfield.
Yep.
Immaculate Heart of Mary Church.
Yep, that's a good place. I grew up 7 Mile in Greenfield, so we were several generations apart. I'm very much older.
But I have sisters your age.
Yes, you do. All righty. What did your dad do?
My father worked for Ford Motor in the tractor division. He was a traveling salesman. When I was younger, he would be gone 3 or 4 nights a week, and then home the rest 3 or 4 days a week, the other days. My mother did not work. She stayed home with the 6 of us. And plenty of neighbors were always over.
Sure.
There were kids over for breakfast before school. It was a great life.
Excellent. Now, I smile at this because I have 2 daughters, and when they hear people say things like, my mother did not work, they get all bristly because they say, wait a minute, women with kids, we work all the time, we just don't get paid. And I'm sure your mom was like my mom. She only had 3 boys, but they worked all the time and didn't get paid.
My mother never stopped.
Yep.
She made lunches for us and other neighborhood kids whose parents didn't have money for lunches. Before we were born, she worked at Michigan Bow, and I think she worked at Hudson's, but that was quite a few years before I was born.
Got it. So you're in Detroit, you're going to school. You graduated what year from high school?
1985, go Wildcats.
There you go. So you've got 5 sisters who are older than you.
All of them.
What's it like to be the youngest of 6?
It's wonderful.
Is it?
It's so much better to be the youngest than the oldest. Every year, when they wish me happy birthday, they pick at me because I turned 40. Yeah, but you're 56. Yeah, but you're 52. It's wonderful being the youngest.
Excellent. What are their names, your sisters?
Kathy, who actually passed away a couple years ago.
Okay.
Patty, Colleen, Mary Ellen, and Bridget. And Mary Ellen and Bridget both graduated from Oxford also.
Outstanding. So how'd you get from west side of Detroit, northwest Detroit at that point, out to Oxford? That's a hike.
My father, you wouldn't believe it. My father's district got changed. So we used to have a lot of northern Ohio, but it was getting most of Michigan. So we moved north to kind of centrally locate. And when they drove us from Detroit to Oxford, it was like driving us from Earth to the moon.
Yeah, I bet.
It was like, I had a fish tank on my lap, and I could not figure out where we were going.
Yep.
And there was nothing out here.
There was nothing.
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 You know, Detroit, there were 15 homes that you could spit to.
Yep.
You got out here, my father could hit golf balls
Yep.
into the gravel pit. It was crazy.
So you moved out here in what year? Do you remember?
75.
75. So good. So lots has changed since then.
Yes.
So you're at home we're going to go back to Detroit. Mom and dad's working, mom's working at home. Who influenced you during those growing up years? Were there any folks that stood out?
My father worked, like I said, he was gone 3 or 4 days a week. He was also an umpire for CYO softball.
Excellent.
They ran bingo at IGM Church. They helped with fish fries. Mother was a Girl Scout. Ma was a Girl Scout leader. I can't believe I called her mother. I never called her mother in my life. Ma was a Girl Scout leader of, at that point, 4 girls, because 2 of us were too young. It was just crazy. They were always doing something, and there were always people over. There were priests over. There was always extra people at dinner. It's a lot of fun. The neighbors were always over.
Did you have grandparents around?
I never had grandparents. My grandparents were all dead before I was born.
Got it. So you had a big family, but it started with mom and dad, and then all of you.
Mom and dad and about 15 aunts and uncles.
Wow.
I'm the youngest of 56 cousins.
No.
It's good to be the baby. I told you that.
You did.
I'm the youngest of all of them. I have cousins that are in their late 70s, maybe early 80s, down to my sister, who is a year and a half older than me.
Wow, that sounds great.
And they were always cousins. I don't know if you remember what it's like. They were always cousins living with you.
Yep.
I don't know why. Cousin Debbie's coming to live with you for a year. We're going to throw her on the pile.
It's just one more
Yep.
mouth to feed, right?
Yep.
Got it. What was home like? It must have been chaos with all those kids.
It was, but it was fun. But it was the same. Ma was a good cook,
Okay.
but she wasn't an inventive cook. She had the same meal every day throughout the week. Sunday you had a chicken dinner. Then Monday, Dad would be gone at work. He wouldn't come home that night. You have leftover chicken. Tuesday, Dad would go home again. You had chicken noodle soup with the leftover chicken.
Chicken.
Exactly.
I'm picking up a chicken theme here. Yeah. Okay.
Wednesday might be meatloaf. I don't remember what Thursday was, but by Friday, it was fish. You had tuna noodle casserole.
Sure.
And Saturday was hamburgers. Then you're back to the chicken rotation.
Back to chicken. And it was good food, I'm sure.
It was great food, but it was the same food.
Same. If it worked, it worked.
In fact, you could feed a lot of people on a couple chickens. And she could stretch a chicken a mile.
That's a gift.
It is.
At that point, nobody had a lot of money to spend. So.
Exactly.
Yep. All right. Let's see. Schools. What was school like for you starting out?
I only went to Fox Elementary, and then Immaculate Heart of Mary, 1st and 2nd grade. I had one nun. They didn't like my penmanship so much, but school was fine. We got to wear uniforms, which I thought was really cool. I'm a dork. And then we moved to Oxford, and there was no more uniform, and that was very good.
Okay, so we got you out of Detroit. I still smile to see you grew up just less than a mile from where I grew up.
Absolutely.
That's a good neighborhood. So we got you out of Detroit. We got you up to Oxford.
I'll tell you, it's still a good neighborhood.
It's still a good neighborhood.
You don't see the street names on the news very often.
Yeah.
It's a nice neighborhood.
So now you're up to Oxford. We're going to pick up after we come back from a break and figure out what you started to do up here, where you lived, who you knew, and the people who were influencing your life then, okay?
Sounds good.
All right, well, we'll catch you all back after the break. Thanks. All right, we're back, and you made the same big trip I did from Detroit, West Detroit, to Oakland County. We started in Pleasant Ridge. You started in Oxford. Well, that was a big hike.
Yeah,
Tell us about how you got here, where you lived, and what that transition was like for you.
Like I said, I was carrying that fish tank on my lap, But we lived 1 mile out of town, right on Seymour Lake Road. There was certainly no Waterstone. I think there were 4 houses across the street. And we didn't have a lawn. And they were looking for Jimmy Hoffa in the sewer system.
Yep.
So we didn't do anything out front for a while. We had to pick up all the stones every day. We took a wheelbarrow out, picked up all the stones. We actually dumped them. I hope this isn't illegal. In the septic tank that they built, but never connected to.
Right.
So we filled that with stones. And we thought we'd go to bed at night like we got all the stones. We wake up in the morning, the stones, and I'll be back. We'd go out, we'd fill up all the wheelbarrows with stones again. That's what we did for weeks.
Wow.
But Dad could hit golf balls. It was the best thing he ever did. Straight from the yard into the gravel pit. And then we'd go over in a couple weeks and find out his golf balls. He wasn't that great a shot. We'd find out the golf balls, bring them home to him, and start all over again.
Excellent. So you and your 5 sisters and Mom and Dad.
Some of the sisters were older. Two of the sisters never lived here.
Okay.
But 4 of us lived here.
They grew up and went away, and 4 of you were here. So you went to, at that point, Oxford?
Daniel Oxford Elementary.
Yep. Excellent. Right. What was it like to go from where you were in town to where you are way out here as far as school? Was it pretty much the same or a very different crew or what?
We used to walk to school.
Sure.
Now we had buses, which I didn't get because we weren't. I mean, and if you lived in Detroit, they made you walk to school. They make you walk to school out here. They brought a bus, so that was cool. But standing in line for the bus was weird. Not having a uniform was weird. But we had granimals, so it was okay. Your clothes matched because the granimals was matched.
Okay. So then you were in high school. After that, you went to Oxford High, is that correct?
Washington Street School, Washington Street 7, Oxford High. The middle school was the high school.
Yeah.
And then I never went to this high school.
Okay. What high school did you go to?
The middle school was the high school.
I see what you're saying. Got it. So during those times, were there folks who were influential on you?
I had some really cool teachers. Dr. Chapman was awesome. Mr. Brown, Mr. Ott, Mr. Studinger. I really like Mr. Smith, the history teacher, who's passed away now. It was just a great place to go to school. Great kids. It was just a lot of fun.
Excellent. Excellent. What did you like best? What did you have the toughest time with?
Okay, French class was not a good thing.
Okay.
I don't do foreign languages. It was a mistake. I'll never take a foreign language again. I really liked English classes. Martha Demerly, Martha Williams, she changed her name between 10th and 11th grade, I think. Mrs. Crichton was a lot of fun. And they were actually, Mrs. Crichton, when we were in Girl Scouts, we won the Gold Award. And we had to pick a sponsor. And Mrs. Crichton was, I believe, my sister Bridget's sponsor. And so she was at the award ceremony.
Got it.
Boy, did she nail some of us for skipping school.
Yeah.
She was great.
I imagine so.
So that was a lot of fun. They were just good people. All of the neighbors were good people. You just counted on your neighbor. You could ask anybody for anything. You know, my friends, I had a lot of friends who lived out at like Baldwin and Granger. Their parents were all really nice. Different walks of life. Factory workers, farmers. A lot of semi-truck drivers for American Aggregates and the other ones. Just good, down-to-earth people who do anything for you.
Solid folks.
Yes.
So you're in Oxford, you're enjoying high school. What did you like to do? What kind of activities did you enjoy?
We loved the lake. We're always swimming. We're in Girl Scouts. We backpacked the Bruce Trail from Hamilton to St. Catharines, and then somehow ended up in Niagara Falls. We went spelunking
Did you?
in Kentucky. It was a lot of fun. I didn't go, but a group of my friends, a group of the troop, went up to Isle Royale.
Oh, nice.
We worked Girl Scout day camp. We worked Boy Scout day camp. It's just what we like to be outside. We like to camp. I'd sleep in a tent in the middle of January. It didn't matter. It was great.
Just liked it.
Yep.
Made good memories, it sounds like.
A lot of campfires. Cross country ski in the middle of the night by the
Excellent.
moonlight. Just a lot of fun. A lot of fresh air.
Sounds good. Did you marry?
I did.
Okay. And you said you have 2 children.
I have a husband. I have 2 kids.
Good.
A daughter who's 29 and a son who's 26. They both graduated from Oxford. Go Wildcats.
There you go.
I have what I call my 3rd son, which is actually my nephew, who falls in the middle of there. And he graduated from Oxford. Go Wildcats.
Go Wildcats.
So you got to throw that in there without
You do.
ever dying.
You do.
Because he grew up a couple blocks away, and I just been with my kids all the time. And I have other kids that I call my kids because they were over all the time.
Well, if I may, it sounds like you carried on at least the social traditions that your mom and dad did.
I did.
Come to our house, you're welcome.
Throw them on the pile. The walls are stretchy.
Yep.
We've taken in runaways. We've taken in homeless veterans. We've taken in just anybody who needed a place to stay was welcome.
Do you ever see any of the people who came to live with you for a while and then moved on? Do any of them ever come back?
I do. One in particular I keep close contact with, although he has moved on now to, I believe he's in Hazel Park. Some of them, it's easy to talk to people now on Facebook.
Yep.
You know, it's easy to stay in contact.
Yep.
So I talk to a lot of them. And some, they'll just call me once a year. Hey, Mrs. Alma, how you doing? I'm doing good. So are we. I'm doing this. That's great. Having a baby. Good for you. I'll send a gift. Whatever they need.
Yep.
They're just all good kids.
Sounds good.
All kids are good kids.
And you're making, if I may, you're giving people a chance to maybe carry on your tradition, some of them in their lives, to reach out to people who are needy and need a little spot.
Some people just need a break. Just give them a break.
Yep. Most of us do,
Exactly.
especially the ones who think we don't.
If you think you never need a break, you need a break.
You need a break. We agree. How'd you meet your husband?
My husband and I work together in New York Carpet World.
Got it. Got it. That works.
Irving Nussbaum made it all happen.
Have you 2 ever or 4 ever traveled, gone places?
We do not really travel much.
Okay.
We obviously went on a honeymoon, taking the kids to Disneyland,
Yep.
but we've never really been big travelers. There's places I'd love to go, never would go. It's so expensive to travel anymore.
It's expensive.
And my husband has Parkinson's,
Okay.
so he doesn't travel well anymore.
That slows you down. Yes,
We have
it
a
does.
cottage in Caseville,
Oh, nice.
which is nice.
Yeah.
But the kids grew up. I can't believe they didn't die in a lake. Yeah, it's so much fun up there. It's great. So,
Excellent. That sounds good. Well, when we come back, we've gotten you through high school into your adult life, married life, kids, fun. We'll take a look at the years from then to pretty much current, okay?
sounds good.
Thanks for your stories. I like them.
We'll see.
And our viewers would like them too.
I hope so.
Yep, yep. Okay, thanks. Okay, so Mo, if I may, Mo,
Yep.
we are winding down here. Tell us about the last maybe 10 or 15 years. What have you been doing? Why have you been doing it? Tell us, excuse me, about your involvement in the community. You're real involved in Oxford. Tell us about that.
Well, I worked for the village for about 20, it was more than 20 years. I'll say 22 years. And then I was elected to council in 2009, I believe. And I've been on council ever since. I've served on the planning commission, the cable commission. I think that's, I think I was appointed to NOTA for a while, but I couldn't really make the meetings. The times were crazy. And done other things in the community. I worked at the high school selling tickets for football games. Right. I worked at the pool for a while. I worked at Borders Books for a while. Just anything new.
What does somebody, you're my insider here, what does, for the folks who are watching,
okay,
what does somebody in the Planning Commission, what does the Planning Commission do? What does the Cable Commission do? Give us a little background on what these organizations which we read about are actually up to.
Well, first of all, there's so many ways to volunteer at the village. Sure. You know, the Cable Commission, the Zoning Board of Appeals, the Planning Commission. Don't do it if you want to get rich. It doesn't pay a lot in the village.
Yep.
But the Cable Commission reviews the Cable Commission budget. We hire the station manager. We make sure they have full-time staff, the necessary staff. They handle all the sporting events. The Planning Commission reviews site plans, writes the zoning ordinance. We're currently reviewing a lot of marijuana facility site plans. The Zoning Board of Appeals might look at your neighbor who wants to build a shed that's overly large, or a fence that's too close to the property line, or a porch. If you're interested, there's the Beautification Commission, there's the Garden Club, there's the DDA. If you're interested in anything in the village, there's a place for you to volunteer at the village. Just call the village offices. They'll give you an application, tell us what you're interested in, and we'll find a place for you. We can always use volunteers.
So for those who are watching in whatever way, I'm hearing that there are not only places, but there's a real need for people to step up and do something for the community.
People don't realize how many people it takes to run something.
Really?
You don't want the same person doing everything. Nope. This isn't a lifetime appointment. If you're an intelligent person and you can read, just come to the village. We'll find a spot for you there. And it's all across the country. You know, people have to work elections. People have to work council. People have to work planning commission. People have to be umpires. People have to be Girl Scout leaders. People have to be everything. And no one's volunteering anymore. And there's a real need for service in this country. And everybody should be doing something a couple hours a week for their community.
That's a pretty good challenge to all of us, I think. If we live here, we'll volunteer to do something to help the community.
It's easy. There's something for you, whatever you like. Helping your church, be an organ player, whatever your talents are, or your interests are, there's a place for you to volunteer a couple hours a week.
Okay. So tell me this, in Oxford, you have a view of Oxford that I certainly don't have because you've been here a bit longer. What has changed in this town from when you came to now, and maybe the second half of this, going forward, are there things you think that we should be doing differently, better, that might make this a better community to live in? That's a pretty open question, but...
I think Oxford's doing great.
Okay.
I do think we have to get a handle on growth. I think there's so many new homes, which is fine, the more the merrier. But the streets, the infrastructure has to be improved. When you've only got one paved road going north and south in this town, you need to rethink that. And there's other needs. You know, the village works very hard to keep its water system up to date. Knock on wood.
Yep.
There would. The sewer system. And our roads, we are working hard on our roads, and we really have to wait for the funding to get that in place.
Yeah.
And it's not just the village, it's the township, it's other communities in the area. In the future, I'd like to see additional infrastructure planning. I am personally a proponent of mass transit.
Okay.
I know not everybody is, and it's fine. The cost is going to be astronomical, but the initial cost hopefully will be borne out. But yeah, the fewer cars on the road, the longer the roads might last. I don't know. This is just person's opinion. Everybody think about yourselves and make a good, informed opinion.
Do you think that if you and I were sitting here talking in 10 years, that Oxford would still pretty much look like it does today?
I think on 24 I'll get built up even more. But otherwise than that, I think yes. I think a majority of Oxford hasn't changed since 1975, since they moved here.
Yep.
There's more houses, the facades have changed, new paint, new roads, but Oxford has not changed that much. The schools are mostly in the same place with the new high school, which by new, 2000, 2002,
Yep.
so not that new. But it's not going to change that much. It's a beautiful place. It's good. Everybody loves the lakes.
Sure.
Everybody's going to take care of it.
So how about for you? What would you like to do in maybe the next 15 or 20 years? What would you like to be doing? Would any place you'd like to go?
I'm going to be doing the same thing I'm doing now. I hope to not be on council. Like I said, it's not a lifetime appointment. Other people need to get interested, involved, run for council. There's currently 3 open seats. It's all incumbents running. So there aren't going to be any big surprises in November. But other people need to get involved, get interested, start looking at what we're doing, what we're talking about. You don't want a new person who has no idea what we're talking about. If you're thinking about running for council, pick up some minutes and read up and see what's going on. And the same for the township, and just get involved.
So pick up the minutes and read, which is a great way to catch up on what's happened.
Absolutely.
So you're not coming in as a well-meaning rookie without any knowledge.
Right. And it's okay to be a rookie. You don't need to be a scientist to do this job. You have to love your community, have common sense, and make intelligent decisions.
Excellent. Well, love your community, have common sense, and make intelligent decisions.
I know that doesn't go along with politics, but that's what it is. So.
But those are things that anybody watching this show, or anybody anywhere, can do some of those things. It doesn't take a PhD in business and engineering
Absolutely.
to do that. A willingness to go. Excuse me. Between you and I, we sound a little coffee, but
Oh, absolutely.
I appreciate so much your taking time. It is delightful to get to know you a bit.
You don't know that.
I give it the benefit of the doubt. We thank you so much for your time and all the service. You set a pretty good example by serving others.
I hope so.
Like,
I hope my kids do it. They're not into the government, but
sure.
they'll go over and do somebody's sidewalk,
There you go.
somebody's limbs, whatever they have to do.
There you go. Well, I want to thank you, Mo, for your time. We thank you for your life and your service to Oxford. This is Chuck Cameron. We're winding down for the day. We appreciate you all and hope you enjoy the stuff we do. And also we hope you think seriously about the challenge this young lady has made to go out and volunteer. We need your help. Until then, Chuck Cameron, OCTV. Have a good day.